Hi guys! Today we're on a journey to discover a man who made a difference in the American school system and whose contributions have changed education today in Australia and around the world. I'm Ebony Stanley, and this is a reflection on Myles Horton. Who is Myles Horton? Born on the 9th of July 1905, Myles grew up in Savannah, Tennessee, with both his parents as educators. He believed that from a young age, education was meant to help you do something for others. Myles completed undergraduate studies at Cumberland University, Tennessee, and then went on to teach at Vacation Bible School under the Presbyterian Church. Horton also worked at other schools, which we will cover later in the video. So let's start with the time Myles did his work. The civil rights movement was in full swing, and Myles himself was in touch with Martin Luther King Jr. and John Lewis, whose voices were the symbol of change in the late 50s, early 60s. Myles' connection with these voices came from the fact they'd used his school, Highlander Folk, as a learning community, along with many others. During this time, it was found that racial segregation and oppression really annoyed Myles, who believed that the oppressed were better and more powerful if they worked together. At the time, there were laws allowing separation between white people and those of colour. Horton, who understood the risks of violating these laws, was desperate to make a change and give adults of colour the same educational opportunities as white people. So Highlander Folk School was the brainchild of Denmark's folk schools and Myles Horton. Myles was inspired by the encouragement of group work and critical thinking in the schools, and so come back to America to make his own. All the learning work is done together in a way that's unique to these boarding schools, where students study, eat, sleep, and have their leisure time. Sadly, later on in his life, the school was taken back by the government of Tennessee, and they had it moved to Knoxville, where it's now known as the Highlander Research and Education Center. So how does this apply to Australia? Good question. Well, the Australian curriculum and the Department of Education is encouraging more critical thinking and group work so students can get the best of their learning. This means students can interact and problem solve in their own context. This gives them an opportunity to learn important skills for general life and their futures, skills that are needed to interact with the world they live in. So Myles' work toward critical thinking and problem solving feeds right into my own passion, where I believe every student has the right and should have the opportunity to live in and question their own world and the context of what's happening around it. Myles Horton was a teacher's child with a strong opinion about education as a helping means. Most of Myles' memorable work took place in the civil rights movement, and he wanted to create a safe learning space for adults of all colours. He was inspired by Danish folk schools and their focus on group work and problem solving, which is why he modelled his school after them. For Australia, this is just more supporting evidence on giving students the opportunity to think critically in their world and work together. So hopefully now you've learned a bit about Myles Horton and what he has contributed to education in the past and now. I'm Ebony Stanley, and this was a reflection on Myles Horton. Thanks for watching, enjoy your day.